What was happening in the house?
My dad was probably the one thing, and I say this with love, the one thing in life that I would look at him and say, I'm proud of my father, is a World War II veteran of the Canadian Forces. They were in Italy. They came home, moved the family to California, and I was born here, and 2 years later, my sister 3 years later. And for a period of time there, we had a good stable home in Arcadia, where I grew up. I don't know what happened, or maybe it didn't happen. It was always there. But my father was a successful salesman, and we bought a nice house, and we had a beautiful home, and we built a swimming pool, and I was going to a Catholic school, Holy Angels. And then all of a sudden, I could hear the fighting and the anger and the rancor, and my dad was out, probably by that point cheating on my mom with 2 or 3 different women. The fighting, the kind of thing you don't want a kid to hear. I heard it all. I heard my father leave. I heard my mother begging him not to. All the cringy shit. And and when he left, he abandoned the family. It took me a long time to say that's what he did. He abandoned us, because when my father came back from Europe, he was a salesman. I was glad to see him. I was happy. I was crying. And everybody told me, you realize what your father did to you? No, my mother was the one. She couldn't get along with her. And that's what happens to us. That's what we do to kids, We make them take these stupid sides. But I didn't trust family, money, or even love after that. I just went out into the world. I was a cynical, angry kid through high school. I stopped paying attention to my schoolwork, and I guess that's kind of a cliche, but yeah, I didn't give a shit about school, man. All I wanted to do was find something somewhere that was that I want to be a part of a culture, and the first thing I found was the writings of Jack Kerouac and the beat poets of the 50s. This was late 60s. The hippie culture was starting, but really the guys, that's where I want to be, because I don't have a family anymore. And by the time I was in high school, I was stealing food because my father was not sending money to the house. I don't know what my mom was doing with whatever money she had, but I told myself I was a rapscallion. I was kind of like Roger the Dodger. I was just being, I was going to steal some food. Isn't this funny? I was hungry, and I was stealing almost every day from the supermarket up the street. My kid's sister told me she saw bags of groceries that she would steal on a step. This is all shit we never, ever let ourselves believe or see, When I finally realized that, I went through a heavy-ass period of anger toward my parents. My father died when I was 35, and I hadn't yet come to those realizations. But I did know that I'd been angry with him, and as he died, I told him I loved him, and I forgave him. But I kind of went there with him. I said, you really were a shit father, man, Well, you going to take me on now at this point in my life? Well, kind of, yeah, that's what I'm doing, Dad. And I realized that my mother was a victim of that, and I had the longest time. I had a hard time with my mom, man. I didn't get along with her. But now I feel so bad for Marjorie, I love her, and I know what she had a serious bout with depression. Now I know that, So I'm glad I came to these realizations, about myself and my life, and everybody's fighting their wars too. I don't think I'm unique.
How did you come by the realizations, though? Like you're talking, I don't know what you learned from the specifics of telling your dad how you felt and forgiving him before he passed.
Well, I don't know that I forgave him, Dan, before he passed. I did know that I loved him, and I knew that he was an adopted kid. He had his life. But I was pissed at him. But I told him I loved him before he passed, and I watched him die. And my mother, I still didn't understand. I didn't understand him either, but I knew that I loved her. It wasn't until, God, dude, I don't know what gets us to that place. It was probably about 10 years ago when I realized that I was stealing food because I was hungry, not because I was, trying to be Oliver Twist's best friend. And that was sad, man, when you realize that. We went from being, my father was very successful to that, and I was angry with my dad about that. I forgave my mother right then and there. I realized that my mom had been through hell. But I knew that this hatred that I was harboring, and that wasn't even hatred, but this anger at my father I was harboring wasn't doing me any goddamn good. I can't go through my whole life hating people, So I recognized he was a flawed person, and God damn it, I love you anyway, Dad. I'm not quite sure what you did that was good, I think. But he gave me a little bit of my sense of humor, my brother too. But you must have been challenged, and you must have been in a lot of pain yourself, man. And I know he was adopted. He didn't find out who his real mother was until he got out of the Army. And I think that's why they left Canada. When he found out that his real mother was an American, I think that's when he packed up my mom and my older brother and sister and came to the United States, came to California.